But also, you want it to be the everything app. And I know on this call, there are a lot of people who have a strong view about how quickly you'd be able to proliferate that throughout the world with Bitcoin as part of the infrastructure.
Yeah, I'm open to the idea of using Bitcoin. I mean, it's like I said, it's of the various things that I think about Bitcoin very little. But I've thought about monetary systems a lot and the actual practicalities of exchanging money, or money is really just data, information in a database. And it basically, money is an information system for labor allocation. So, but most people think of money as having power in and of itself, but you can obviously run some basic thought experiments and say, if you have $8 trillion on it, you're marooned on an island, it's useless because there's no labor to allocate. You only once you have some complexity and, you have people with different skills, then you need sort of an information system for labor allocation and to shift obligations across time. But it's remarkable how many people think money has power in and of itself, because that is their experience, certainly in any advanced economy. For example, if you were to say, like, let's spend more money on healthcare, I'm like, okay, well, you can't instantaneously change the number of doctors. Doctors take roughly 30 years to, for a new doctor, a baby to be born and ultimately be educated and become a doctor. You can't just throw money at a system and suddenly have, get doctors from a magic doctor factory. So you can over time change the number of doctors if you change the incentive structure for doctors, but you cannot, just adding money to a system does not create more doctors. But people weirdly sometimes think that is the case, because they see what is immediately in front of them, but they do not see two or three layers deep. In fact, this is why inflation is such an effective means of taxation, is because inflation is a few layers deep, and most people simply see one or two layers deep. But so if something is like 3 layers away, that they simply don't realize it, and they will in fact be angry at the store for the prices going up, even though it is in fact the government that has caused the prices to go up.
Elon Musk has history with Bitcoin. In early 2021, Tesla invested $1.5 billion of their cash into Bitcoin. They also began accepting Bitcoin as payment. SpaceX followed and also added Bitcoin to their balance sheet. Elon then revealed he personally owned Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. It appeared as if Elon was a fan of Bitcoin and an ally of the crypto space. But then everything changed. In 2022, Tesla sold 75% of their Bitcoin at a loss. They also stopped accepting Bitcoin as payment for their products. Why? They cited concerns over the energy usage of the Bitcoin network. And since selling, Elon Musk hasn't spoken much about Bitcoin or crypto. However, this week he hinted that he might be coming back. Following the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs, Cathie Wood hosted a Twitter Spaces to celebrate. One of the speakers was Elon. Within the Spaces, Cathie asked Elon if he was planning on incorporating Bitcoin into Twitter as he builds it into a financial platform, and Elon said he was open to the idea. He then revealed that SpaceX has continued to hold its Bitcoin, and he also addressed the energy usage concerns that Tesla had surrounding Bitcoin in 2022. He pointed out that the situation has now improved. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video where Elon does eventually get angry at some persisting questions from Bitcoiners, and he also answers the question, what form of currency does he believe will be used on Mars? Also guys, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy finance content, consider subscribing or liking the video. It's free and you can always change your mind. Now here's Elon Musk and Cathie Wood with their latest thoughts on Bitcoin.
That's why we have to get the government out, right?
Yeah,
right?
For any given system, whatever the incentive structure is, whatever the incentives are, that's what will happen. And then it should be no surprise if you incent something that it will happen. It would be weird if you incent something and it didn't happen.
In the context of your companies, Elon, SpaceX, and Tesla, what was the rationale behind using Bitcoin in the treasury? And is it something that you've kind of backed off of, or is it something that you're amenable to kind of more broadly?
Well, I mean, we did make some prominent purchases of Bitcoin. At Tesla, we just became a bit concerned that the big changes in the ratio of dollars to Bitcoins, that value ratio was changing too much. And in case we needed the working capital, it would be better for us not to have a Bitcoin. And now SpaceX still has most of its Bitcoin because SpaceX did not anticipate any working capital issues, potential working capital risks. And, and I was at one point, it really seemed like the use of electricity for Bitcoin was on the margins really being quite a lot of dirty electricity. And I know people have got all these, rebuttals to high CO2 energy being used for Bitcoin. But like there was at one point, like I think an entire power station and coal mine in China that was a truly gigantic one that was responsible for a massive amount of Bitcoin mining. Now, I believe that has now been shut down, but I think that actually constituted some insane amount of Bitcoin hashing at one point. I think things have gotten better with just usage for Bitcoin hashing. It's still a little bit of a concern, but it seems to be not as serious of a concern as it was in the past.
That's analogous to me arguing that electric vehicles are bad because they're powered by a coal power plant. Like, I think you have to divorce the source of the electricity from the actual fundamental good that spending energy to secure the Bitcoin network produces. And that, like, the thing that Cathie and Art are talking about is that, hey, here's a currency that a government can't control. It can't control because you have basically a decentralized distributed denial of service system preventing it from being kind of controlled and co-opted. And the cost of that is the energy you spend.
I don't think they were exactly analogous. So in this case of the gigantic coal mine and coal power plant in China, its sole purpose was Bitcoin mining. And it was really not something that would be used for anything other than Bitcoin mining. In fact, when that plant went offline, there was a massive drop in hashes per second for Bitcoin. That's how you could tell it was that plant. That was problematic. It went too far at a certain point. Now, like I said, I think at this point it is better. And when you look at electricity usage, when it's not being pushed beyond reasonable bounds, electricity production is increasingly sustainable, coming from wind and solar with buffering, with battery pack buffering.
Elon, if you don't back the monetary units with work, something that actually takes energy, as opposed to keystrokes, I just don't know how you can build a better system that actually pegs fiat currency around the world without some type of proof of work mechanism.
No, I'm not saying you couldn't have some proof of work mechanism. I'm just saying that, and look, I don't want to, I'm on this call because Cathie asked me to be on this call, not because I wish to argue about Bitcoin.
I still do think that this is an important.
If we're getting annoying Bitcoin arguments, I'll sign off.
I actually have one question. I don't know how much time you have, Elon, but I would love to know. You've been clear about the need for us to be an interplanetary species. What money would you use on Mars?
It probably would make sense to use some kind of cryptocurrency on Mars. Now, you couldn't use Bitcoin because the reconciliation time is too long. Like Mars at times Mars can be like 20 light minutes away. Not an easy thing. There had to be some localized thing on Mars.
Yeah. So I know some very important movers and shakers in the community are here. I'm sure they are already thinking about ways to make sure that Bitcoin makes its way to Mars. I'm positive.
Yeah, it's just like I said. At times when Mars is on the other side of the sun. I mean, reasonable, a sort of rough way to think about it is there's 8 light minutes from the sun. Mars is roughly 1.5 times as far away from the sun as the Earth. And so at times you're on the order of 20 minutes, but sometimes even you can't go right through the sun. So you have to be bank shuttered past the sun. So they might be like 23 minutes at max speed of light. Anyway, so I think you could perhaps use Bitcoin to some degree, but it'd be difficult to use it a lot.
Luckily, some of the other technologies like Lightning would work totally great without latency. You'd have to have a localized Lightning network like you were talking about. Now, you wouldn't be able to mine on Mars. You get split mining across the Earth and Mars, but
correct. I think Mars would have something local. I mean, that I hope we have that problem to deal with. If we have that problem to deal with, then really civilization has advanced dramatically. So right now, we've not yet been able to put a single person on Mars, just a few robots at extremely high prices. So in order to have in order to pass one of the Fermi great filters, which is, are you a one planet species or a multi-planet species? We have to have a self-sustaining civilization on Mars, where the acid test being, if the resupply ships from Earth stop coming for any reason whatsoever, that the city on Mars does not die out.
Well, I want to thank you, Elon. I know if you want to hang out and continue with the coin conversation.
Or you could, yes. Cathie, you're back.
Yeah, did I get cut out? I don't know what happened there.
For just a second.
Okay, what I was saying is I don't know how much time. I mean, I'd love to keep batting back and forth. Bitcoin, I know your time was short, but I wanted to thank you for joining us. This has been awesome. Spaces is awesome, and we're going to be doing a lot more on Spaces. So thank you.
All right. Sounds good.
Great. Thank you. Okay, guest appearance. He's pretty amazing, but I think we scored a few Bitcoin points there, guys. I think we're bringing him back into the fold. So
I think this a very similar pattern as to what happened over the last 10 years will probably repeat itself. A huge reason of why we've been able to list these in other jurisdictions with other skeptical regulators, and the same reason that we've been able to do it in the United States, is it's becoming way too big to ignore. Mm-hmm. I think if you just look at ownership levels, the estimates I've seen are anywhere between 15 and 25% of American adults. There's 100 million or more Coinbase accounts, and so on. And so I think a considerable part of this is that it's just becoming much larger impossible to ignore. And that's going to continue to push adoption, in my opinion.
We're going to go pretty soon.
Yeah, we should. Obviously, a lot of people have joined us just recently, and we should just say, obviously, we want to thank the guests we've had so far. We're gathered here today, and they're on with us to really highlight the fact that it's a monumental day with the approval of the Bitcoin ETFs and ARKB for the ARK21 shares Bitcoin ETF launching tomorrow. And these become very relevant conversations very fast for so many. It's the reason that the tagline for the ARK21 shares Bitcoin ETF is, aren't you a little bit curious? There's so much to be curious about for so many who, as I think Brett said earlier, previously had almost excuses not to pay attention. And so we want to bring high quality content. We thank Elon certainly and many others, because curiosity will lead to so much knowledge, and there's still so much debate and so much innovation to go.
Thank you, Tom. I wanted to just get quickly back to finishing up something that I think we started talking about, using the gold ETF. And I know that a lot of people on this call think about inflation, and as I do all the time, risks and so forth. But back then, what was Russian default, long-term capital, Y2K, then the tech and telecom bust, the Fed just kept easing, even though that recession was very narrowly focused. And I think that's what greased the skids for gold and all other commodity prices in the early 2000s. So, when people do use gold, the gold ETF as a guide, I think gold actually might have gone down as relative to other commodities.
So there's Elon Musk's latest opinion on Bitcoin. Could he be coming back to crypto? If there's one thing we do know, it's that Elon craves attention. With the crypto bull run gaining steam and Tesla's Bitcoin energy concerns having been resolved, it wouldn't be surprising at all to see him rejoin the crypto narrative at some point in 2024. Will he come crawling back? We'll have to wait and see. Anyway guys, hope you all enjoyed today's video and that provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, all the best.